Yo, what up, a-holes? Thank you for tuning in to the Holistic A-Hole Podcast. My name is Eric Levi, and I'm the Holistic A-Hole, the mommy blogger with balls, the inconvenient truth of health. Thank you for tuning in to the podcast today, where today we're going to give you a little health hack. That's right. We're going to give you a little health hack to help make your smoothie game go from being a little bit below par to fucking crushing your diet and getting you ripped, getting you shredded, ready for the beach, even if beach season is on the tail end of coming to a close. We're going to do all that stuff and give you probably the biggest tip you can take away into making your smoothie the most effective, most activated, most powerful smoothie you can get. But before we do that, I want to pimp myself out and say what's up to everyone who's tuning in today. If you haven't done this yet, whether you're a returning listener or you're new to the podcast, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Just hit that little subscribe button right there in your podcast feed, and then go out to all the social mediums, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and go show some love to all the Holistic A-Hole stuff on the social mediums. Follow me on all these things. I got content coming out all over the place. So if you enjoy this, keep up. So speaking of keeping up, let's talk about smoothies, because there is a smoothie crisis going on in the world. Can we just be honest here? You know, I know there's a lot of riffraff out there, and there's a lot of people trying to be controversial, but sometimes I walk the razor's edge with my topics and deal with the backlash, and this is no different. I'm here to tell you that your smoothie game is completely fucked, and you're doing it all wrong. And every time you have a smoothie, and then you sit there and you wonder why am I not losing weight? Why is my acne still all over my face? Why do I feel bloated? Why do smoothies give me gas? Why do I have this eczema? Why is my hair falling out? Why are my toenails chipping? Why do I have dry cracks on the back of my heels? Why do I have these man boobs? Why do my farts smell so incredibly bad? Well, again, it's because you're sucking down smoothies and you're trying so hard to be healthy, but you're just coming up just short. And in full transparency, I'm not going to play like this is a thing that I've always known, because I'm a smoothie lover myself. I've been doing smoothies almost every single day for years now. Years. You know, I haven't been doing it for like 15 years, but years, you know? I mean, I remember my smoothie journey started when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. The old Jamba Juice opened up in a strip mall by my house, by my childhood home, where my mother raised me. They open up a Jamba Juice and they make it very friendly. They advertise to the children, much like cigarettes, much like sugary, fatty foods do. And the Jamba Juice was no different. They're like, we got balloons, we got all these different colors. I don't know if they have a mascot per se, but they didn't need one. With as fun as the name Jamba Juice is, how can you, as a impressionable 16, 17-year-old teenager who is just trying to move up the depth chart on the JV football team, how can you not be lured in by the predatory practices of a smoothie place like Jamba Juice? I didn't even know what a smoothie was before Jamba Juice came to my hood and opened up their little store there, where they would just make such delicious smoothies. And I'm not saying this in the past tense. I'm saying they still do to this day. You know, even though part of my health journey has been swearing off things like Jamba Juice, because spoiler alert, Jamba Juice is not the pinnacle of health that you're looking for, especially when it comes to the smoothie game. And we'll get more into that here in a minute. But I would go to Jamba Juice and I'd get a smoothie. I'd get like a mango banana smoothie, and oh boy, was it delicious. But it was just straight up garbage. It was like going to Starbucks and getting a freaking caramel macchiato and thinking, that's healthy. It was the same thing. It would be loaded with, sugar. And the base of it was like vanilla froyo. Back in those days, we called it frozen yogurt, but the kids call it froyo. And I'm just trying to be hip here. I'm on the social media. You know how I do it. So, I would, load that bad boy up and I'm like, man, smoothies are awesome. And then I would, make some smoothies at home. And, it was more about the taste back then. It was more about the party in my mouth back then. But, I kind of gave up smoothies for a long time, more in the essence of when I was working a desk job and there was just no time to be making smoothies. I'd show up to work and have my cereal, and smoothies for the most part just fell off the map. And it's no surprise, so did my health awareness. And then, a couple years ago, as I start getting into the holistic a-hole journey, I rediscover the power of smoothies. Mostly because I needed a healthy way, or I needed a convenient way to get all of my nutrients in one sitting, usually at the very beginning of the day. I'd say 99.999% of the time at the very beginning of the day. And I mean, really, like in theory, what is better than a good, healthy, specifically green smoothie, right? You toss in all the vegetables, right? So for me, it's kale, and not just like the kale, like that, like the trendy kale, but I'm talking like the real underground shit. The stuff that you actually have to go to multiple grocery stores sometimes to find, like that dark, leafy green. It's not like the party leafy where it's like all squiggly and stuff. It's like a straight, like elephant ear leaf. Okay. That freaking kale. I mean, it's just dark green. Dandelion greens, broccoli stems. I toss in another level. I go for the straight up green banana for a good, consistent source of resistant starch, the prebiotic fiber, as they say in the biz. And then, of course, I like to toss in a little fruits here and there. Toss in a little banana, yellow banana. Toss in the blueberries for some good, phytonutrients and polyphenols and more fiber, more just the good stuff. And then all the seeds, right? The hemp, the chia, the flax, pumpkin seeds, walnuts. I even nowadays go with the turmeric and the and a little crush of pepper, because that activates the turmeric. Now I'm even going with coconut oil, and brace yourself, I'm going with the grass-fed butter. That's a pretty good overview of what my did I say coconut oil? Coconut oil's in there. That's a good, sky view of what my sky view. I don't know what that means, but that's the basics of what my, for the most part, everyday smoothie is. And look, I'm not going to lie. When I was a vegan, on the outside, I was like, I'm healthy, I feel great, blah, blah, blah. And in many instances, I did. But man, I was dealing with a lot of problems. And bloating and gas were no exception. They 100% were part of the problem there. And never really understood why. This is kind of when I started questioning veganism. Right. And I started getting into more of like this kind of paleo space, right? With maybe there is a problem with vegetables. Maybe you could have too many vegetables. Are vegetables causing so much of this, so much of my bacterial dysbiosis in my gut? Is the plant phytonutrients, all the fibers, all of the plant, what is it called? The cellular wall, the hardened cellular wall of the plant, as like a guy like Dr. Stephen Gundry talks about in The Plant Paradox, or any of these, carnivore people that tell you about the dangers of eating plants, because plants have natural defense mechanisms in them to basically poison their prey so that they don't get eaten. This is Mother Nature at work. Maybe I start thinking a little bit like that. I'm like, are these plants trying to kill me for eating them? Is that what the plants are doing? I really didn't know, and I really suspected that maybe they were. And then I come across some information, as I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner student at the moment, learning about the way the body works, diving into physiology and anatomy at a level which just is disgusting. Just learning so much about the body that I just have to, at this point, just start from scratch. I have to start from scratch because all the stuff I'm learning, it's just a complete 180 of what I thought I knew. And being good at the smoothies was one of them. So here's the biggest health hack you're going to get when it comes to smoothies, which is this. When you drink a smoothie, you must chew the smoothie. I'm going to give a second to let that sit in. Just let that sink in, because that's what we do, like sunscreen, right? You put the sunscreen layer on. You don't run right out into the sun and get the sun, because you got to give a minute or two for the sunscreen to absorb into the cells of your skin, right? To really absorb it. Maybe some of you are topical CBD users, okay? Maybe some of you have tried like the Nicorette patches, okay? You got to just give a minute for things to absorb, okay? Chewing your smoothie. Let that sink in. Think about it for a second. Nobody is doing this. Nobody. People are getting excited for smoothies in much the same way that I got excited for smoothies. Like I just told you, where it was, I was like, man, I'm on this health journey, and I'm just going to take all these veggies and I'm going to put them in the blender. I'm going to blend it up and I'm going to suck it down, and I'm going to have just pounds of vegetables and nutrients and fiber, both prebiotic fibers and biotic fibers. I'm going to have all the good nutrients, all the vitamins, all the minerals, all that shit, all the good colors, all the seeds, all of it going into my body and just being sent around. But alas, that is not how it works, my friends, because I was not chewing my smoothie like now I understand you're supposed to. And maybe you're sitting there and you heard me say this. Maybe you're listening to this on your headphones and you're driving. Maybe you're on a long drive, and you just heard this and you're like, you had to pull off to the side of the road for a second. Or maybe you're on the treadmill and you just had to jump off the treadmill. You had to pull that little red thing out of the treadmill for an emergency stop, because this is such a just monumental shift in your thinking. I'm telling you, it shocked me. It shocked me straight up out of my seat, out of my socks, out of my shoes. My shoes were feet away from me. It's like I've been hit by a semi-truck, and my body was nowhere to be found, but my shoes were right there where I got hit. That's what I felt like when I heard about this idea, this concept of chewing your smoothie. What the F? Why do you do that? Isn't that a waste of your jaw muscles? We have teeth, right? They evolved. We got this jaw that's evolved, and people will tell you, why did it evolve like it did? It evolved to eat meat. It evolved so the human can eat meat and get all the nutrients that essentially have evolved with us over the last 2 million years. That's the number they like to throw out. 2 million years, by the way. That is a long time, dude. A real long time. But why would you ever chew a smoothie? Isn't it pre-chewed? Isn't it pre-digested when it goes into the blender and it blends it up, especially if you got a Vitamix? It's like a 400 horsepower engine or whatever it is, just cranking through all of the fibers of the vegetables and all the stuff you put in your smoothie. Isn't that the whole point of it? Why are you chewing your smoothie? Well, here's why. As we've talked about on this show many times, digestion, right? Digestion starts at the very top of your body. Actually starts in your brain, believe it or not, okay? You got to think of digestion as a north to south problem, a top to bottom problem. All the problems in your body, or at least dietary problems in your body, happen from the time food goes in your mouth to the time it comes out your anus. That's basically what it is. All the inflammation, all the stomach disorders, all the illness, all the autoimmunity, all the stiff joints and the blood pressure and the blood sugar regulation, all that stuff happens from the time a piece of food goes in your mouth to the time it comes out your butt. And so what you want to do to alleviate these problems is you want to tackle as much of the process of digestion at the top, i.e., in your head, your brain, and your mouth. You want to take care of as much digestion there. So by the time the food starts going down your throat, your esophagus, into your stomach, you've actually prepped this food for optimal digestion, okay? So where does chewing the smoothie come in? Because what's the point, right? Well, part of this digestive process is the salivary amylase, the saliva, okay? Think like Pavlov's dogs, right? The drool, the fluid in your mouth, okay? That's not just for Pavlov's dogs. That's not just for like a sexy woman comes by and then you're just caught staring and a little dribbles out the side of your mouth and your girl catches you and slaps you and you're like, I can't help it. She's wearing booty shorts. Her butt's hanging out the bottom of her shorts and she's freaking hot. What do you want me to do? This is evolutionary. Okay, the saliva is actually meant for more than that. The saliva is meant to help break down starches in the food, i.e. sugars, i.e. carbohydrates. Okay, so that salivary, in the saliva, I should say, is the digestive enzyme salivary amylase. Okay, so basically what this does, dude, like a crowbar. Okay, again, it's in the saliva. Like a crowbar, the food that's in your mouth, the salivary amylase will go into the food and start helping to break it up. So as you're chewing, the chewing is what triggers, already the trigger is your brain seeing the food, a little bit of saliva goes in, but the chewing will produce even more of that salivary amylase, will produce even more saliva. So when you actually go in and something like a smoothie comes in and you start chewing the smoothie, as weird as it is, dude, as unnatural as it feels, and let me tell you, it feels very unnatural. It does not feel right to sit there and chew a smoothie. But what's happening is when you chew the smoothie, you're actually, because let's face it, nobody's making a smoothie out of meat. Nobody's making a smoothie out of, just straight protein. You've got all this other stuff in there, especially if it's a green smoothie. You're going to have like 50 different things in there, and they're usually going to fall under the starch category, under the carbohydrate category. So when you start actually chewing the smoothie, you get more of that salivary amylase, more of that saliva, more of that carbohydrate crowbar coming in and just cracking open these starch molecules, and essentially it gets turned into maltose, which is just a molecule made up of several glucose atoms or molecules, I believe. So basically what happens is now that in your mouth, you're taking care a lot of the digestion, a lot of the breakdown of the molecules is happening in your mouth. By the time it gets into your stomach, it's actually a very easy process for your stomach to essentially fully digest the smoothie. Because the problem with the smoothie, and some of you probably experience this now, is that when you drink a smoothie, especially if you drink it fast, a lot of people drink smoothies. Like sometimes I'll be on the run and, I make a smoothie. I got to be out the door within 10 minutes of the smoothie being finished to the time I got to get out the door, being done blended, I should say, to the time I got to get out the door. And there's other things I got to do, right? I got to brush my teeth. I got to get dressed. I got to clean stuff up, So I'm, a lot of times just pounding a smoothie and then running out the door. Sometimes we'll sit there and we'll drink smoothies while we drive, which is just the worst time to consume anything, whether it's a smoothie, a candy bar, or for a lot of people, like a full-on fast food meal. It's just the worst time, okay? Because you're driving, you're stressed, you're listening to the radio, or you're listening to a podcast, and it's probably politically charged, especially if you're listening to politically charged talk radio. You're getting mad, you're getting stressed, you're not chewing, you're not digestion, you're just giving yourself a lot of gas, okay? And that's what's happening, okay? Because, when the smoothie goes in, even if you're not driving, even just sitting at home and it's peaceful, if you're not chewing and you're not helping the digestion, essentially what's going on is you get all of this stuff in your stomach, especially if you don't have the right amount of stomach acid, hydrochloric acid. Your stomach is having a hard time breaking down all of this stuff, okay? And then, what happens is you get this backup in your stomach of food, right? It's called bolus when it gets into your stomach, and then it's got to get turned into chyme. And there's a lot of chemical reactions that go on down there in your stomach. You've got enzymes, you've got acids, you've got the bile, and it's changing the temperature and the pH of, I shouldn't say temperature, but the pH of the food. It becomes the chyme, and if it's not the right pH, it's not going to work right as it goes into the next part of your digestive system, which is into your small intestines. And if it's not hitting when it gets into the small intestines, this is where you start getting so many of those problems, right? You start getting the H. pylori bacterial infections. You start getting the SIBO, the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. You start getting IBS, Crohn's, because essentially what's happening is the good bacteria isn't taking the nutrients it needs out of that food because it didn't get broken down to where it can take it. Right? This is where you start getting leaky gut. Leaky gut is the base problem of all of people's like autoimmune diseases, eczema, Alzheimer's, like all these just terrible chronic diseases that you see people just getting so much of nowadays. It's all precipitated. Is that the word? It's all happening basically in the it's happening in the small intestines. It's happening in the upper GI, right? So smoothie is no exception. Even though the smoothie's blended, if those particles are not broken down into their molecule bases, specifically carbohydrates, they're causing a lot of problems. And essentially what they're doing is they're feeding the bad bacteria, and these are the ones producing the methane, producing essentially all of the bloating and gas that you're getting after you drink a smoothie. So without going too far around in too many circles, the bottom line here is that when you make a smoothie, you have to chew it, okay? And, maybe you're sitting there and you're like, all right, Eric, take off the tinfoil hat, relax. I don't know if I can do this. Just do it. Just give it a month, right? Just give it a month of just consciously chewing your smoothie. Or if you don't drink smoothie, whatever food you eat, just chew it into oblivion, because this is going to break down so much of that food in your mouth into your stomach that by the time it hits your stomach, all of these digestive problems that you're having are going to start to clear up, because when you clear it up at the top, the healing will trickle down throughout the digestive tract. Okay. I'm not saying this is a cure-all. I'm not saying if you have serious chronic diseases that, you should just toss away your medication or toss away the supplements you're taking and just, do this. But doing this, focusing on the chewing, is going to do so much for you. So much. It's incredible to even think about it, that it's such a small adjustment in your life, and it's such a small thing you need to focus on, and it can make such a huge difference that it almost blows your mind. And it blew my mind when I heard about this, and I've been doing it on all my smoothies I've been drinking, and it actually helps a lot, especially if you start mixing this with doing like some apple cider vinegar, like 15-20 minutes before you have your smoothie. I mean, dude, your digestion is just going to be kicking. It's going to be kicking so hard, and so many of your problems are going to start clearing up, And in case you're out there and you're like, well, I don't make smoothies, Eric. I juice. All right, get over your goddamn self. Nobody likes you, okay? Stop it with the juicing, okay? I get it. You want to have a juice. You like the juice. I'm not going to say juice is bad, right? I'm talking like actual juiced fruits and vegetables. I'm not talking about like the naked juices. I'm talking like the stuff that comes out of the bottom of a juicer that you make yourself or you go to a juice bar and get. The problem is you need the fibers. You need the actual food from the whole food, the fiber from the whole food that you get in a smoothie. The juices, you're just getting the fructose and the sugars. You're getting all the vitamins and nutrients, or a lot of them, but if you got blood sugar problems, which, let's face it, most Americans do, or if you're living in another country, unless you're in Japan, chances are you're dealing with a blood sugar situation. So just don't fuck with juices. Just stop it. Stop it. Stop it with the YouTube juicing channels. Stop it with the juice cleanses and fasts. If you're going to do this, if you're going to take time and put vegetables and fruits and seeds and nuts into a contraption that takes something and mixes it into a more digestible form, do the smoothie. Don't do the juice. Stop it. You're embarrassing yourself. Everyone can see you. So do it. Chew your smoothie. It's going to look weird. It's going to feel weird. It might take you a lot longer to finish the smoothie, but that's part of the thing too. You aren't even able to finish the smoothie because you're actually eating so slow that I believe it's the leptin. The leptin is the hormone that communicates fullness from your adipose tissues, actually. Maybe the leptin starts kicking in because it's taking you so long to finish a smoothie, and maybe you're like, I can't even finish this fucking thing. I need to get a smaller size or make less. And then you slowly start giving yourself less and less calories to burn in the day, and you slowly start losing weight. I'm not making any promises, but this is just the cascade of events that can happen when you take the advice of the holistic a-hole. So I would love to know if you start seeing results on this. If you listen to this and you're like, dude, like this is actually a good thing, I'm going to try it. And then a month from now, you start seeing like results. Let me know, dude. Shoot me a tweet. Find me on Twitter at Holistic A-hole. Shoot me a Facebook message, Holistic A-hole. Shoot me an Instagram, like before and after picture. You can tag me in your story. You can tag me on your feed at Holistic A-hole. And then, of course, go over to the YouTube page. Check out the Holistic A-hole YouTube channel. And keep in touch. And if you enjoyed this episode, go on to iTunes, leave a 5-star review. If you're new here, just let the podcast ride and catch up on the episodes. Just do a Holistic A-hole binge and get caught up and be a part of the community. So thanks for listening, everybody. Appreciate the love and support, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.